Hey there, it has been a long time, but hi, it's Kelly, back again with Kelly True Thoughts, except this time, it's a little bit different. So I'm starting a new project called Kelly's Kitchen, Kelly Food and Thoughts. Kelly's Kitchen, let me teach you a recipe and also make you feel really good about yourself. Isn't that the most deliciously corny name on the planet? I love it. I purposely wanted to call it that to piss people off, so Kelly's Kitchen, what's up? I am going to continue my Kelly True Thoughts with a new topic each video, but while I discuss the topic, I'm going to teach you a recipe that I came up with myself. I figured I would start my first Kelly's Kitchen video, Food and Thoughts, with a summery, kind of spicy, tropical type veggie saute, my coconut-infused eggplant and green pepper. Let's get started. All you really need for this recipe is an eggplant, half of an eggplant, half of a green pepper, which I basically have right here, and half of a red onion, so half of everything, pretty simple. This was actually one of my second or third times working with eggplant, so what I usually do is I cut it into rings, and then I cut it into sort of a thinner ring going all the way around. Make sure, of course, that you wash all your vegetables and you have a very good kitchen knife because you don't want to cut yourself. This kitchen knife actually belongs to my dad, but maybe someday I'll have my own set of knives and that would be nice. The topic I'm going to talk about today is fear. I think I did a video on fear already a while ago, but this is more fear as in being apprehensive or unsure about if you want to completely put yourself out there. Figured, why not? Great topic to talk about with this video where I'm basically putting myself out there. I am definitely not a professional chef by any means. I do cook for my friends a lot, and a lot of my friends really love my cooking. The main thing that I work with is vegetables, and I've really made a lot of people who apparently aren't vegetable lovers really love them, and there is a key to that I'm going to talk about today. But anyway, fear. Speaking of fear, when I was a child, I hated vegetables. Like, my mom had to literally put all my vegetables into the meatloaf just so I would eat it. It was that bad. So, step one is you cut up your eggplant. Now we're going to pause and move on to the next veggie, the green pepper. But, I'm not going to sit here and make you guys watch me cut up an entire half an eggplant, okay? Basically, you dice it into pieces like this. Whenever I saute anything, I dice it very finely into little cubes, much easier. So you're just going to cut this up the same way and dice it the same exact way. Make sure you cut out all the, gross white stuff in the middle. It's not attractive, you know what I mean? Funny story about eggplants, actually. I don't know if any of you 90s babies out there have ever seen Courage the Cowardly Dog, that old cartoon on Cartoon Network. I was afraid of eggplants for the longest time when I was a kid, because there was this one episode where, the eggplants are evil. I'm serious, they're evil, and they, walk around and talk to Courage. It's really freaking weird. But yes, speaking of fear, I was afraid of eggplants because of that episode. Look it up. Look up Courage the Cowardly Dog eggplant episode. Don't know what I'm talking about. It's freaking trippy. Trippy as hell. Anyway, I did used to have a really terrible relationship with food for a long time. And learning how to cook using not only different vegetables, but incorporating different proteins and making different sort of vegetarian and vegan versions of meal. I made vegan mac and cheese. That was pretty banging. With cauliflower, which sounds nuts, right? I got into experimenting with different recipes along those lines, and it made me really appreciate different foods and become more comfortable with eating new things. I really feel like in a way cooking was sort of partially my saving grace. So I figured if I can cook every weekend for fun and for my friends and make people happy with it, make myself happy with it, doing it in healthy ways that still taste delicious, hey, why the hell not add it in my channel? So I am done with the green pepper. Now I am moving on to the red onion. This is kind of a little bit more than half of a red onion. Say, do a third of a red onion. I'm going to finish dicing up this red onion, and then we're going to move on to the next step, which is preparing the sauce. Haha, saucy. Alright, hey, so it is time for the sauce. The thing with vegetables, and the reason I think a lot of people don't like to cook with them, is because they don't realize that the key to making vegetables frickin' banging is sauce and spices. So I'm using a pineapple teriyaki marinade, the ShopRite brand, very fancy. If you can't find a pineapple version of it, you can just add a little pineapple juice to this. I would say maybe about 1.5 teaspoons, 3 teaspoons of the teriyaki marinade, Then I am doing 3 teaspoons of soy sauce, which is super easy to find. You can find it anywhere, literally. That is already going to make it delicious, but we're gonna spice it up a little bit. 3 teaspoons of turmeric. Turmeric is a sort of curry-based like spice. I'm going to use some ground cumin, which is also similar to curry powder, but I'm only going to do 1 teaspoon of that. It might be a little bit overbearing with more than that. Trust me on this one. Then the last ingredient might shock you. Half of a lime that I already cut. Yay! And I didn't hurt myself. Take half of a lime and just squeeze it in with a little splash of balsamic. Balsamic. There we go. It's going to look a little bit yellowish in color because of the turmeric, but it's going to be a marinade, as you can see. Last ingredient, I didn't show you guys yet. Dill. It comes on little stems, and you just rip off the little sprout leaf thingies and chop it up. As I told you, I am not a chef, and I don't know cooking terms, so I'm just going to call them whatever I want to call them. So you rip them off the stem thingies, and then you cut up the leaf thingies until it's very fine like this. All right, on to the final step, almost. All right, we are back, and now it is time to put everything together. What I have on the stove is a pan sprayed with, there's maybe like half a tablespoon of olive oil and some ham spray. And here comes the magical part of this recipe, coconut oil. So all I'm doing literally is like 1 spoonful of this stuff, okay? So like this much. Just dump that on here. And this is what we are going to put our wonderful eggplant in first. So we are going to let this coconut oil cook and soak into it. And when it does, all of these eggplant pieces are going to have a little tiny hint of coconut in them. I know it sounds like eggplant and coconut would be like weird together, but I really wanted to see if I could somehow make a sort of summery dish with eggplant. Because I feel like eggplant is used mostly in like fall type dishes. So, okay, we are going to let this do its thing for a while. So fear. Why do we let other people's opinions of us really make us hesitant to do things we want to do, say things we want to say, act how we want to act? There's nothing more freeing than just being yourself and not caring about how people react to that. Most of my life, I've just wanted to impress other people. I've wanted people to think I was cool. I think it just, you get to a point where, would you rather live your life finding happiness from other people's approval and other people telling you, oh, you're great, you're good at this, I love this about you, or would you rather actually feel that way yourself? It doesn't really matter, like, if other people agree with you, because you agree with you. You'll find people that will accept you and like you for you. Do whatever you imagine and whatever your heart desires without being nervous or afraid or thinking, what if I fail? What if I mess up? Because you know what? You probably will fail because you're a human and humans fail, and that's okay. It's normal. You're gonna fall and you're gonna get knocked down, and it's gonna happen, but it doesn't make you a bad person. It doesn't mean you suck. It doesn't mean you're a failure. It just means you gotta work a little bit harder to get to a place that makes you happy and free. And you know what? When you get to that place, and if you can pull yourself out of that place, you're gonna be a much stronger person, a much more experienced person, a much more well-rounded person, and you're gonna know yourself better than anyone ever can. You're gonna know yourself inside and out, and every version of yourself, and it's great to have that self-awareness. And that only comes with failure and trial and error. Okay, so that was perfect timing. This eggplant is just starting to saute a little bit. Once you hear it sizzling, take the rest of your veggies, throw them in there. Finally, you're gonna add your sauce. So let's add this. Let's add this stuff. It's a lot thicker than it was when I made it last night. But I do remember it really soaked into the veggies very nicely, and it came out really great. So we're gonna add a little bit more olive oil, which is actually very good for you. Try to get the marinade on all of the veggies. And, oh, and I forgot to tell you, have this on medium the whole time, because it's going to take a lot for these veggies to saute anyway. And then we're going to let them sit like this. So we're going to turn it down to maybe about like a medium low. And we're going to sprinkle, I would say eyeball it. I'm sorry, but that's eyeball it. Just balsamic. And lastly, we are going to sprinkle on our dill. And then what I do is I take a little bit of oregano, another favorite spice of mine, and I'm just going to sprinkle some on the top. I don't suggest using salt and pepper for this dish, only because it is already so flavorful with the turmeric and the cumin. and the unique flavor from the dill that I think salt and pepper might be slightly overkill. Leave it as it is, and then add salt and pepper to your desired content. Now we're just going to turn that on low, and we're going to let it sit. And we should be done with our meal. This angle is dizzying. My sincere apologies. But I just wanted to show you, we're going to leave this on here until the onions are browned and the eggplants are kind of mushy. So if you push on them, even if you want to try one, just taste it to see if it's good, and that means you are done. Alright, so here it is. My coconut-infused eggplant, green pepper, red onion sauté. Haha. I just wanted to like walk over with my dish and feel all professional, but this is the finished product. I sprinkled a little bit of oregano on top just to make it look good for show. If you have extra dill, which I didn't, because clearly I'm very prepared for this, you could sprinkle a little bit of dill on top for decoration. So thank you for hanging out and talking about being yourself and doing what you want and conquering your fears with me, even if they're fears of eggplants, and thank you for cooking with me. This has been really fun, and that's it for my first episode of Kelly's Kitchen Food and Thoughts. Have a nice day, and I hope you feel like you might want to try this recipe.